Welcome to Dance Music Production, Volume 7, Fundamental 3. As you're probably aware by now, the Fundamentals DVDs are a consecutive series, each of which is dedicated to examining a specific part of the basic theory and the production techniques that pretty much all producers should be fully versed in. And for this third volume, what we're going to do is we're going to continue from Fundamental 2, where we examine bass, and move on to some more music theory and basically discuss what's perhaps the most complex area of theory, and that's harmony. Now, essentially, harmony is the driving force in almost all styles of music. Not only does it create the bridge between the bass and the lead, but it's quite often the subversive driving force behind the music. Even something as simple as the harmonic rhythm can have a massive influence on the energy of the track. And on top of that, the creation of harmony plays a fundamental role in actually coming up with ideas. After all, most musicians you see banging on a keyboard or a guitar are actually looking for a chord progression first, because you'll find that once you have a chord progression down, the bass and the lead tends to come naturally from that. So, obviously, harmony is an incredibly important aspect of music, whether it's getting the initial ideas down or helping glue all the other instruments together. Now, when we discuss building chords and progressions in order to create harmony, the very first thing you need to understand is that all chords and their relative progressions are based around creating certain harmonic relationships. And basically it's how we use these into harmonic relationships that creates the mood and the flow of the music, which in turn manipulates the listener's feelings. Now, if you mix that with the fact that harmony is already a complex subject in music theory, and that these DVDs are for music producers more than they are for musicians, there's going to be occasions where we're going to investigate the harmonic and interrelationships between notes in a little more detail than say, a typical music theory lesson would. Now, I am going to avoid going too deep into harmonics, since it's an incredibly multifaceted subject, and I could easily bang on for about 3 DVDs about the integer relationships of harmonics. But there are still going to be places within this DVD where I'm probably going to bombard you with a lot of information in a very short space of time. So I very strongly suggest that you don't rush through this DVD and try to watch it in a day. The mind takes time to absorb information, so I fully recommend that if you don't quite follow along, finish watching that session, take a break, and then come back to it the day after and watch the session again. See, if you don't understand one session and you just decide to jump onto the next, I can guarantee you it's only going to seem a lot more complicated and seem to get a lot more involved and a lot more confusing. So make sure you understand one session completely before you move on to the next. And with that, I think what we'll do is we'll move on to our first session, and what we're going to do here is we're going to start very simply and look at the creation of some pretty basic chords.